E plus R equals O. There's an event, there's a response to the event, and there's your outcome. Change your response, you change your outcome every single time.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Crisis Storm. And I am extremely honored today to have a very special guest with us, a gentleman that I know very well and I am very fortunate to know, and whom I am really pleased for you to get to know a little bit here in this episode. With me today is Shawn Wiesner. Shawn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure being here.
So I'm excited to really jump in.
Okay.
But our audience doesn't know what I know about you and why you're here.
Right.
So I asked you to come and talk a little bit with me on the Crisis Storm about corrections.
Mm-hmm.
You were a former corrections officer.
Correct. For 16 years.
But you're no longer a corrections officer. So maybe if we could start with a little bit of your background.
Sure.
Tell us about what took you into corrections and what took you away from corrections and what you do now and why you do it. I know that's a lot, but
That's perfect.
Tell us a little bit.
I think, well, my goal was to be a police officer. That was my goal. And unfortunately, back in the 80s, I went to Douglas College. I took criminology. My goal was to get into the police force. And I was friends with staff sergeants. I was friend with recruiting officers. Everything said Shawn needs to go to the police force, yet they weren't hiring any, like it was just a different segment of hiring that they were looking for back there. So it didn't matter what I had, who I had as my backup, it wasn't going to happen. So what I decided once I got out of Douglas College is I thought, I'm going to try corrections, because that seems to be kind of a stepping stone. I'll get some experience, and then again, and then in a couple years, I will reapply. So I was in correction, I started in Ocala, and I don't know if you're familiar with that. You know Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah.
Same type of jail.
Okay.
Disgusting. Energy, old, like it was 100 years old already. Total brick, honey buckets for toilets, like it was something else. So it wasn't some place that I actually wanted to end up being. So I remember, I started in Ocala, and then I had an opportunity, because I was an auxiliary, to bounce around different camps throughout the geographical area of Vancouver, which was out in Maple Ridge. There was a fishing camp called Alouette River, and then there was Pine Ridge Camp, which was another one that was dealt with they had a forestry camp, and so on and so forth. Anyways, I finally got an opportunity to apply for the new West City Police. So ready to go, studied like crazy. I'm all excited about it. Got some great references, like I'm pumped. This is it, I'm going in. This is how you figure out whether you're supposed to be there or not. I missed the test by a day. I wrote it in the calendar the wrong day. So I showed up at the police station to do all the testing, and they said, you were supposed to be here yesterday. And I went, I felt sick to my stomach. And then I sat back and I said, there's a reason for this. There is a reason for it. And I don't know what it is, but I'm being guided in a totally different direction. So off to corrections I went. And then because I didn't want to bring a family up in Vancouver, I said, let's move to Kamloops. There's a jail there. Never been here before in my life. January 3rd, 1990, I drive to Kamloops over the Coquihalla in the craziest storm I've ever been. It was just nuts. -30 when I got into town. Never knew a soul. Moved up into my apartment all by myself. My plants froze to the inside of the truck. It was just a lovely experience. Slept on the carpet. Remember the shag green rug? I slept on the carpet because I didn't have time to do what I do, and I was working in the jail January 3rd. I showed up at 7 a.m. And the really interesting part about Kamloops and the opportunity, because I'm going to talk about it as being an opportunity. getting in corrections was an opportunity, and I've got some great stories. We're not going to necessarily talk about the horror parts because I've learned so much from it. Anyway, I was eager to learn everything. So realistically did almost every position in the Correctional Institute. From I started out in the remand units, which weren't the great. That was where you got your mixed bag of not so popular individuals that were coming in for some pretty hard crimes. So it was an incredible learning experience. And I might talk a little bit about that in terms of how I learned to deal with people. Because I'm going to go back just a little bit. Mm-hmm. To get into the police force, to get into corrections, there's obviously that persona of force, that you have something on you that's going to protect you, that something is going to give you the ability to be above. And I'll be totally honest, I was picked on like crazy as a younger kid. And I think I came to the point where now it's my turn. And I believe that was, and I can say it in all honesty and being vulnerable about it. I believe I was going to go be the tough guy. I learned that wasn't the case. And I learned that probably in the first 2 days. And it was about...
So by January 5th?
Yes, it was probably about, maybe the 4th.
Okay. Because
it was just a whole different environment, and there were people that worked in that environment that were like that. And I said, I don't want to be like that. So there was a real awakening for me to go, this is not who I am. This is who this is not how I want to be. I will gain the respect by the respect that I give. And I worked with some pretty high-end offenders that we had a good respect level for one another.
Where did that that all came from? A background of you being bullied? How do you go in at that early stage and have that type of feeling about? Was it just naivety, or was there more to it?
I wanted to be tough. I played small for so long in my life, I wanted to be the tough guy. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't who I was.
Right, but you made such a radical shift from that.
Huge.
What motivated that shift?
Let's call it my higher self. Let's call it God. Let's call it, there was just that presence of being a good man. If we can go back to a segment that we've talked about previous.
That's right.
And it was about what I was internally and who I was. And, falling away from that, which we do. Like I truly believe that with awareness, we can create a different choice, and the choice will give us a different result based on how we look at things. I used to piss the guys off in the coffee room because I'd be the one, they'd be in there cranking about the boss, what a jerk, this, that, and then Wiesner would come in and go, hey guys, who signs the check that pays for your house? Who's the guy who signs your check that sent you on holidays? Hey Tom, you were just in Mexico, weren't you? Yeah. Hey Sarah, you just bought yourself a new Toyota car, did you not? Food on the table, you're supplying to your family? We just need to look at this in a different light. And they would basically say, oh, Wiesner, you gotta ruin it all the time. So it was a perspective of mine in an environment that was incredibly negative. So that's where it started. So that's where I started to just, create a different thought process and have a different mindset than what normal, that's not a fair word to say, not normal people, but what the status is that you would think you would go into that environment with. Mm-hmm. So it just didn't feel right to be not nice. Yes, you have to be firm and fair in that process, or they'll just squash you like a bug. So there is some, and then fortunately, I was a fair-sized guy too. I spent a lot of time in the gym and did what I needed to do. So I had a little bit of influence on that. Yet I truly believe it was my heart and my care and passion and empathy, because you could flip through some of those files and go, holy cow, this is like, judgment and perception will put you in a position that's not good. So anyways, this was me. So I went from being in the remand units, which were the toughest in the jail. That was, nobody wanted to work in there. And I was in there for 2 years. And I said, I need to study and I want to get out of here because I don't want to be in here. This is not where I need to be, because it wears on you.
Right.
You know, you get to a certain point where, you know, somebody would come up to me on the street and tell me to F off. And I'd smile back at them. They go, why would you smile? I go, well, that's good morning in the jail, right? So it was a perception of how I responded to the actual event that changed my thinking. So I studied like crazy. I then got promoted and I went into the records department as a supervisor in records. So it was all about, you know, every legal document that came through, and then it was processing all the offenders that came in, and then also making sure on the way out, you know, that they had all the documentation and that we were satisfying all the court requirements. And so then I went from there. Then I was the control supervisor and scheduler, so the control center was with all the computers that opened all the doors. It was fully electronic jail. It was like Get Smart, you know, the doors boom, how they go behind. That when I first walked in there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to have a phone on my shoe because I'm thinking I'm Get Smart. And it was scary. It was scary. So I did that. And then I got into programs, and then I was a program supervisor. So because I wanted to get involved with what the word was, corrections, from a perspective of sharing something to give these people an opportunity to not come back. Mm-hmm. You know, it saddened me when I would sit there when I was the record supervisor. Let's just say, John, you're out. I'm not coming back, Wiesner. I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. I go, you're a good man. You've got potential. Do what you need to do. I don't want to see you back in here. You don't belong in here. And you know what? Half an hour later, he's back in, and I'd be like,
half an hour.
Half an hour. Half an hour. And it would break my heart. And I wouldn't judge him. He came in with such, or they would come back in, because that wasn't just one guy. They would come back and put their head down because they knew how much I cared about them. Yet we didn't give them what they needed to be able to go out and survive in there. You know, we talked about Shawshank Redemption. Remember, I can't remember there was the older fella that ended up getting parole, and then he went to a grocery store, and nobody supported him. Nobody gave him what he needed, and he hung himself. You know, and that broke my heart.
Where you come from in the jail system, you know, the amount of time, 16 years that you spent there, is Shawshank Redemption an accurate reflection of, you know, the Canadian correction system and jails here?
No, Ocala was. Ocala was a similar, you know, day one in Ocala. So you're new, you're called a fish. So I remember getting my uniform, and it was brown, and they gave me a size 40 pant, and I'm like a 32-inch waist, right? And probably like a larger extra large at max. I got a triple extra large shirt and a size 40 pair of pants, and I said, I look terrible. And they're like, don't worry, you'll grow into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I will not. You know, so that was some of the, but so first day they tell me I have to go down cell side, and that was with the big skeleton keys and the big metal gates. And I walked 3 down, and the supervisor on duty that day knew what was going on and sent me down that thing, and I wore a honey bucket that was full of feces and urine right in the face.
This is like hazing.
Yeah. They knew it was going to happen. They thought it was funny. You know, I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was the most disgusting thing I've ever, and everybody was laughing. So the inmates were laughing, the guards were laughing. You know, I'm going to actually call them correctional officers because I want to give them a little bit of, I put some credit to, they're not just guarding something, they're good people that got put in a position that was available.
Right.
So I do want to honor that. But, so, you know, that starting out piece, yeah, it was hardcore. And then I was so upset, but strong enough to say, don't you ever do that again. Don't you ever do that again. And don't you ever do that to another individual, because I won't put up with it and I won't tolerate it. And they're used to, oh, sorry, hi, sir. And I said, no, hail the underdog was my thing. Don't. When I played junior hockey, so I'll go right back into when I was junior hockey, I ended up being the captain, which was super cool. I played for the Trail Smoke Eaters, love them to this day, still have alumni with them, have close connections. I was the only guy that never got shaved. And when I mean shaved, they clean you down below, right? I was the only guy because I wouldn't allow them. They tried getting me, they couldn't get me. Because I'm just like, no, that's not part of, this is not gonna happen. Going forward, I made sure, and I said, there is absolutely zero hazing on this team. I will not tolerate it, and don't let me catch you even doing it, because it's disrespectful to somebody else. That is not how you break somebody in. By taking away their dignity, you're kidding me. Because I know something like that down the road could be something that is traumatic. So even back then, I like being called as the protector, the guide. You know, I'll go back into, we're really going all over, but we'll go back into my life purpose. My symbol was a sword, and that sword is still with me today. And that sword wasn't, I remember when I received that part, and it's not that we'll get into it, I didn't want the sword because I knew it somewhat represented being an authoritative or using it to do harm. And it was more so from and guided to that, it was more so a piece of protection so that other people didn't, so that I was there for them. And I will always be that individual. So anyways, getting back to the jail, sorry I digressed, but this gets exciting. I had a great relationship with the warden. And he said to me one day, he said, Shawn, you don't belong in here. And he goes, you don't have this, you don't have that spirit. And I think you need to like look at different avenues. But he said, I'll give you whatever training you want. I'll send you to Victoria. I'll send you on coaching courses. I'll send you on management training, whatever you want. And then I'll give you an opportunity to get a bunch of education and some experience. And then why don't you think about what you're going to do next? So
at what point in the 16 years was this?
5 years.
5 years in.
Oh, no, sorry. So it would have been at year 11.
Okay.
At year 11. And I remember telling one of the guys that I had worked with in the records department, I said, Larry, I'm out of here in 5. He goes, that's what everybody says. I said, no, I got a plan. I'm going to work like crazy to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my heart and soul to this place because you're paying me to do so. And I have strong values in terms of making sure that I do what I need to do. I'm out of here in 5. This isn't where I belong. I need to get somewhere before here. This is too far in. I need to get to the younger generation before they end up there. That's my goal. I want to make a difference so that, because I know corrections is, when I was in programs, we were teaching a program called Breaking Barriers. It was from 1961.
And this was what year?
That would have been 2000, around, yeah. No, or no, sorry, not 2000. That would have been 90, let's call it 96-ish, 97. And it was a program. And so this is where I ruffled feathers, because then, you know me, I'm a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. So I read and I'd find different things and I'd take different certifications. And there was one specifically, and it was called Question Behind the Question by John G. Miller. And I went to Denver, got certified in teaching it, and brought it back to the jail. And I was actually going, okay guys, you just listen to me here. This is all about personal accountability. I want to give you something that's got some sustainability and some structure and some sustenance. And not to say that this isn't, but let's pretend that we were teaching this. I'm going to teach you this because I'm excited about it. And got so much engagement and so much fun with it. Eventually somebody found out that I was doing it, and I got my wrist slapped pretty good because it wasn't part of what they had from a ministry standard of training, and I had to stop doing it. The coolest thing is, to this very day, now I left there in, I can't even remember the date anymore. Like it's been, oh God, it's like 20 years. Yeah. They still hand out John Miller's book, QBQ, to every new recruit that walks in there. And I have one guy that still works there that hasn't retired yet. And Mehdi goes up and says, okay, this book here, this is for every new recruit, it's about personal accountability. But I need to tell you, Shawn Wiesner brought this book in here back in, the mid-90s because he was so passionate about it. And I'm just proud that it's still a ministry standard that every new recruit that comes into Kamloops Regional Correctional Center gets a QBQ book.
So recruit in the officer side.
Yeah.
And even though you got your wrist slapped, they still ended up adding it to, for lack of a better word, the curriculum.
Correct. So there's a pride piece to it. I just wish it could have transitioned into what they were teaching. So it's personal accountability for a new recruit that is now a corrections officer, yet it's not there for teaching these guys and giving them some skills. Now getting into that piece of it, that again, it's not corrective at that point. You become who you have coffee with. If I'm sitting in a room and there's 10 people that are charged for murder in there and 5 are robbery and assault and just all the crimes that you would look at and put those people in one room, what do you think's going to happen? You become who you have coffee with. So I become comfortable with that. Hey, this is kind of cool. This is now, I've created different avenues of relationship and friendship. And I'll tell you, once you get into those, I've known lots of people that are still involved with it because they just couldn't break away from it. The money's good, the power's good. I'm surrounded by, I'm always carrying some sort of weaponry because I'm always thinking somebody's going to kill me, but there's power to what that is. So they were kind of going through, here were some epiphanies for me. I ended up on the right side of the fence. I had a staff sergeant, his name was Peter Huska, loved him dearly from Trail. And he said to me one time, and he's passed, I love the guy, loved him. And he said to me, Shawn, if I ever see you behind bars, he'll break my heart. I remember talking to him in Trail when we had gone back, and I said to him, Peter, I need to tell you something. He goes, please don't tell me. I said, I got a shirt, I got a blue shirt, I'm on the right side. He goes, oh, thank goodness. I'm proud of you. So it was some of those things that came up from that whole piece. But what I'm saying about where we are in terms of where we are with this crisis, we got to get to the young people. It's a process of finding before, Have we come up with a solution for the homelessness now and the crimes that are going on? We have a heart for it. We have some great ideas. How progressive are we getting with it?
So for the audience, because I know what you do now, and that journey has been quite miraculous. But for the audience's benefit, tell them when you left the jail, what did you go to do, and what do you do now?
Okay, and I'll skip right through. I did a couple other things as I went through. Was involved in a business, and it wasn't who I was, which was fine. We learn from our failures and we move on from those. And again, I'll be vulnerable in saying that I wasn't that individual.
But you were still an individual that was motivated to help others.
Absolutely,
through that business.
100%. It was a home medical equipment business. I would come back and so you're there to make money. And I would spend more time with some of the veterans because their stories are just amazing. Like my heart would, and then I'd come back and my wife, because she was working with me, and then she says, well, what did you sell? I go, a cane. A cane. She goes, you went there for like a whole bunch of things. I go, the guy was just beautiful. She goes, well, this isn't going to work. I go, yeah, probably not. So for me, it was a learning thing. I mean, there were some other pieces to it that I won't get into. There was definitely some other pieces that changed the course of that, which drew me into again what I love doing. So I got attached to and started following Jack Canfield, who's the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and he was in the movie The Secret, and he's wrote the best-selling novel or best-selling book, The Success Principles, which has 64 success principles in it. And if you follow the principles work. I drank that Kool-Aid hard. I loved it. The process was simplistic. It was changing people's lives. I got so involved, I fell in love with, I went through a breakthrough to success in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm sitting in the room right now. I was just loving being there. I was loving everything about it. I was loving why people wanted to be so inquisitive on what some of the keys were to success. And Jack just has this incredible, charismatic way of getting you to just fall in love with it. And it's not magical. He's just authentic. He's just beautiful. He's got it. And I wanted some of that. So I went from breakthrough to success to advanced training to the next advanced training. There wasn't anything that I wasn't signing up for and going to. And then got involved with his program called Train the Trainer. And then he had, this was the very first one that they had, and they were only allowing 100 people from around the world to take this first Train the Trainer course to be able to teach his principles. And again, I just fell in love with that. And out of the 100, they picked, what did they call us? Fabulous 10 or something. So out of the 100, they picked 10. Then I got to go to Jack Canfield's house in Santa Barbara, and we were there for a week, and we just collaborated on ideas. And it wasn't about coming up with a bunch of successes. It was about being in a room with like-minded individuals that wanted to make a difference in the world. It was about individuals that had the perspective of not saving the world, but starting one at a time to figure out what it is that we could do to help and what we could do to assist, and a simplistic way of doing it. And so then I went from that to continuously following up with my training. It was a whole year-long program. Graduated from that, and then through my assisting, because I kept going back because I wanted to still continuously be part of it. And you can go on it's Jack Canfield directory or some Train the Trainer directory, and you can go on and you can search my name, Shawn Wiesner, and I'm one of, I believe there's only 15 of us in the world out of thousands that have been given a senior trainer certificate, where Jack said, you know, these are some of the people that I would feel very comfortable in training my work. So I went from that to meeting the individual that owns Home Hardware, Rick Kurzac, who was also at some of these trainings. And then he just said to me one day, because you can't fake authenticity. Mm-hmm. I was in love with it. I was in love with making a difference. I was in love with what I could do to offer something that was purposeful and give people guidance and give them purpose.
And at that time you were life coaching.
Yeah. Yes, because I did those certifications too. I had Corporate Coach U certification. I had Success Coach Institute training. I was teaching it. I was training it. I loved it, because coaching is success coaching, or whatever we want to call it, success, life. I like calling it life, because if you can save one, that's pretty good. Some people are afraid to call it life coach. They want to be called a corporate coach. I'd rather save a life than a business. Because if I save the life, the business is going to be saved anyways. 99% of anybody we talk to, when you sit down and you ask right questions, it's about discovery for themselves. Coaching isn't about shooting on somebody. Coaching is about helping self-discovery. It's about you going, oh, so if I did this, this, and this, I'd get it. Because you can't push a cooked spaghetti noodle across a table. It needs guidance, it needs support, it needs gentle. You can pull it and guide it and everything. So my whole being was about asking the right questions. And this is different for me because I love listening. I always say, listen for the intent to understand versus then to respond. Mm-hmm. I love hearing people. I think I probably told you the one story. I'm flying back from a Jack Canfield event from Phoenix. And there's a lady sitting beside me, and she asked me what I was doing, and all of a sudden she's just, off she went. It's a 3-hour flight. I never said one word for 3 hours, not one word. When we got up, she gave me the biggest hug and she said, Shawn, that was the best conversation I've ever had in my life. I didn't say a word. People want to be heard. You know, and for me, that coaching and this whole piece is about listening and listening with intent and listening to understand. You know, prayer of St. Francis, if I get biblical, you know, seek first to understand, then to be understood. You know, so you know, there's wisdom that has come from years back. You know, Stoicism, the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius from 2,000 years ago, has some brilliant concepts in leadership. Why are we recreating the wheel? It's about taking care of people that are on this planet, about having empathy, caring, not giving you the finger because you're in the wrong lane driving to work, even though you're doing the right speed limit. What is that message? Slow down, breathe, take it all in. Yet from a perspective of just saying that, it's about getting that finger and being okay with it instead of reacting to it, which our society is moving more towards, well, he gave me the finger, I'm going to give it back to him.
We'll talk more about that later. Yes,
okay.
For sure.
So yeah, so it was so with the Jack back to the Jack Canfield thing. I honor the man. I love the man. I call it, you know. So people will say my teaching and my training is woohoo. Well, woohoo is the shit that works. Excuse my language.
That's awesome. So I had redirected you, but I want to pull you back.
Okay.
So you're life coaching. You're with Jack Canfield. You're with Rick Kurzac there, and Rick Kurzac comes up and talks to you.
Yes, and says, Shawn, I'd love for you to bring that to my organization. He goes, because typically in any lumber or you know, bigger manufacturing places, there's not a lot of attention spent to those outside the gates, right? There's not. It's turn and burn. And unfortunately, that is still something that hurts me to say. Still, such a big stigma in 2023. So Rick wanted me to come in and share the success principles, you know, being able to actively coach so that there was some inspiration behind what they were doing, so they had some meaning towards the work that they were there. Because let's be honest, pulling 2x4s isn't the most glorifying job in the world. Yet he still was a huge. I always said the way it works in an organization is you have a supporter, so you have Rick. Rick supported the idea 100%. I was the implementer. And I wanted to make sure that what he had me there for was to inspire young individuals to be not only incredible employees, but to be incredible human beings. And if we have turnover is because somebody else saw the value in that individual and respectfully asked if they were available to steal. And that was some of my most proudest moments. Some of them have gone off to be professional hockey players, some of them professional boxers, or baseball players, plumbers, electricians.
A bank manager,
a massage therapist. I have one guy that, you know, he thought, no, this is my career. And I'm like, Alec, I love you too much. I go, I'm going to push you because I know what you want to do, and you want to be a massage therapist. Whatever I can do to support it for flexibility. Yes, expectations are, you know, you can't come to work and pull your books out and spend the day studying, but I can be flexible to make sure that you can follow your dream and make sure you get there. Alec is now in Kamloops, a massage therapist.
Just like your sergeant did for you in the jail.
Yes, I do it all the time. Friday, just this past Friday, I had 2 individuals that worked for me. And this isn't to impress upon you. This is to impress upon you the fact of where I wear my heart and the empathy that I have. 2 individuals on the same day. I was blown away. One of them comes up to me, gives me a hug inside the store, and introduces me to his buddy and said, I just want to let you know, he's working for the railroad now. This guy changed my life. And it felt so good to my heart, because that's important. Half an hour later, I've got another young man that comes up to me and he said, I couldn't do what I'm doing today without your guidance and support. That's what I live for. Being there for them, being sometimes their protector and their guide. You know, sometimes it's about how do we budget you so that you don't keep telling me, they'll come up to me and say, Shawn, I need a raise. I can't survive, because it is tough. Fine. I'm going to give you some paperwork. We're going to study your budget for the next 3 months. I do realize you come in here with Tim Hortons sandwich and a coffee every morning. We're going to work on that. Because I want to give them something that's sustainable, so that, because a raise, they're just going to buy another Red Bull. What can I do to touch their heart so they become really good human beings? What can I do to give them purpose so that they don't end up on the streets? And that's what I love doing it. And Rick's supported it all along. You know, it's been a great journey. I was just in, they asked me to go and facilitate a leadership course in Winnipeg, a lovely place when it's cold. Holy cow, that place is cold. To train the warehouse management course. I spoke about empathy. I spoke about coaching. I spoke about how do you inspire your team. I spoke about, you know, the pride that you have for things and the care, and how you get your people to that level where your job becomes easy. That's what it's all about. So because Rick introduced me to the president of the Western Retail Lumber Association, Liz called me up and said, would you contribute to this program? And I'd love to bring you to Winnipeg and facilitate the program. It's just something that I jump out of my seat for, because I'm going there again, and I'm going to repeat it. I'm a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. I'm going there to attach to people, to give them safe space so that they can ask the questions, to be able to do what I'm able to do. And it's about your own journey. It's about creating your own blend of brilliance, if you want to call it, from who attaches to you. So, you know, mine was Jack Canfield. Mine's Jack Canfield. Mine's Simon Sinek. Mine's Robin Sharma. Mine's Dr. Tasha Urich. You know, the list goes on. John G. Miller. You know, I sit and read all the time. I'm reading another one on values from a great friend of mine, Robert MacPhee, who wrote this beautiful book on, you know, clarity in your values. And so everything that I've done to get to where I am has been like a present of unwrapping a layer. Do I have days where I'm not 100%? Yes. Yes. Are there times when I haven't been maybe Shawn? Yes. But I always have the ability to go back into my heart and say, where are you, buddy? You know, the wisdom in your inner self is so much powerful than what you have coming out of your mouth, because what you say out of your heart is going to be far more impactful. And for me, it's being able to be heart-centered, heartful, you know, love and be loved, but do it in that order. I said it in the beginning.
You did. I love that. Before we take a break,
Okay.
there's one more thing that maybe is worth touching on for the audience's benefit. Something that I'm only aware of because we actually tried to do a bit of a documentary on it, but we couldn't get it funded. So I'd like the audience to know about this as well. And that is, you started a program at Home Hardware called Warriors for Success.
Warriors of Excellence.
Warriors of Excellence. Sorry, yes, Warriors of Excellence. Just tell us a little bit about that.
That chokes me up too. So during the pandemic, uncertainty hit. We lost half of our employees, so it meant digging our heels in and doing what we learned as we went, because there was no playbook on this one. And I got to be you can call me the leader, but I really think I was just a fellow traveler with each and every one of them, because we were all learning as it was going. Yeah, they looked up to me, yet I still was the fellow traveler at that point. So, and there are segments in our life where we are the teacher, and we are the student, and we are the fellow traveler. This one, we were fellow travelers. And we created a program called Warriors of Excellence. And every day after a 12-hour day. So typically before we would get, 200 customers through that yard is, anybody that even hears 200 customers through a lumber yard is like, are you kidding me? You get that many in a day? Like, it is just, it's on fire. It's go, go, go. We were getting 350, 375, 400. Now keep in mind, I usually would have about 20 individuals through the day. There were 7 of us. And then we got.
And this is all because of COVID.
Yes, everybody.
Everybody's staying home, working on their homes, doing home renovation projects, but you have less than half the staff.
Yeah, and survived. And I think going through the survival piece and where Warriors of Excellence came from is I would sit at the end of every day, and I'd watch this group of individuals that gave their heart and soul. They gave their heart and soul for the success of keeping us together. It wasn't about customer service. It was something different. We were connected for doing something better for ourselves and for somebody else. And at the end of every day, we'd sit in a huddle and we'd be exhausted and we'd all want to look at each other and cry, but we would sit there and hug each other, high five. And I said to them every single day, if I ever had to go into a battlefield, it'd be you that I would want to take with me. And we created a program that, my letters of expectation, and it's not that, you need to go 100 miles an hour and you need to do this, it wasn't the fist pounding thing. It was a program that was set that it wasn't, if you didn't do what it was, there wasn't repercussion of discipline. They knew it was letting us down. It was the Warriors needed everybody. Each and every one of us contributed to something that was amazing. And it was amazing. And because of that, we created letters of it, or we had expectations that we had. We created pride posts because we wanted to teach people things and inspire them to love their area. We learned efficiencies in terms of, well, maybe we don't need 20. We kick some butt at 7. Maybe, I know that's too little, but if we looked at it from a value perspective of who you are, if I took 7 or let's say 5 people out of the mix, now when I'm looking at my budget for staffing, I could pay you for the value that you bring versus having it so watered down where you have 20 and you just, because human behavior, if I'm in construction, I'd like to have 10 hammers because I put 1 in every corner. Whereas if I just keep 1 and I'm efficient with my hammer, I didn't need 10. But we got so used to having lots of everything, it was more so being very grateful for what we had. And we were grateful for what we had, and it grew, and I've got Paul and Dane, who are my Pride Post supervisors. They're so proud in the grading of, so there's a percentage. So there's things that you get marked on. One thing that I said when we created the Warriors of Excellence, guess what, guys? No participation ribbons. You can't all win. Can I tell a quick little story about my daughter?
Yeah.
So Danielle was going on this, that's my daughter Danielle, she's now 30, and this would have been grade 5, I believe it was. So this is how I've always talked about participation, and I learned so much from my father, so there's some tough love that goes with it. Danielle takes off out of the gates. Now this is a long distance run. Takes out of the gates. She's beaten everybody in the first 200 meters, and I'm like, oh, Danielle, this is not going to work well. Anyway, she comes second to last. There's probably 300 kids.
She spent all her energy at the beginning.
Burnt it right out. So she comes to me and she gets this ribbon and she's disappointed, or doesn't even get a ribbon because they ran out of participation. That's how last she was. And I said to her, Danielle, there's first, second, third. There's first, second, third. Participation is about just going through the motion. The desire is just, well, I'm going to get something anyways. And I said, that's not how I want to give you confidence in your life. So the secondary piece to this, Danielle's trying out for a singing part. Danielle's like so I'm going to brag a little bit, incredible sports. Anything that, I got more sports equipment in the attic than you can shake a stick at, from tennis rackets to soccer balls to like everything, golf clubs. She just picked something up and loved doing it, but she had more of a love for it than she had that wanting to continue on with it. So she goes in for this singing part, and she comes out and she's crying, and she says, "Dad, they didn't pick me." I said, well, so, and she's so upset. I said, "Well, Danielle, you suck. You can't sing. Your mom and I know that." "Dad, that's not nice." I said, "If I lie to you, I'm going to give you false expectations. If I tell you you're a great singer, like a lot of people do, that's not going to do you any good. You know what? You're an incredible soccer player. Focus on those sorts of things. You're good in school. Study the academics, but you can't sing. So let's just be truthful with each other." And a lot of people would look and say, "Well, that wasn't very nice," but we were just having a conversation a week ago, and where she shared that with me, and went, I'll never forget that, but it was something that I'll always remember. So so those pieces there for what the Warriors of Excellence presented to, and how we became so much of a gel and learnt on the go. And to this day, we still have Warriors of Excellence. We have a Warriors of Excellence trophy. Every year somebody that has the percentages that across the board. Last year it was Jordan, or this last was Jordan. He's an amazing young man. But it's not just that. It's not just that. It's the ability to walk up to him and go, "Hey, how's it going?" To have the insight to be able to say, "You need a hug?" The ability to, I was sharing with you in the beginning, that Simon Sinek did this beautiful video with Christina, Tosi, and it was about having 8 minutes for a friend. Hey, you got 8 minutes? That's the code word. And he cried and she cried, and it made me cry, because we need to do that. We need to do that. We get so caught up in our busy worlds, especially in the business even today. I get it all Friday. I call it, this Friday I called it effed up Friday, because it was just, everything was going on. But I was appreciative and I was grateful that I was there, because 3 young guys, "Hey, Shawn, you got a minute? Hey, this is going on." We often think that in the business world, we don't have time for the woohoo stuff. But the 2 minutes or the 8 minutes that I spent with these individuals changed the course of the day, changed the way they went home at the end of that day, changed the way they showed up the next day, because I gave them 8 minutes. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. And that's how that show is run, and it's running like that to this day, where people are proud of what they do. They might be run down, but the Warriors, at the end of the day, there's not a day that I don't go, we've got I think we have 110 or 120 employees now, that I don't go around and make sure I say good morning to every single one of them. I go around because I'm not there for, hey, doing the high five. I'm there because I'll be able to pick up on, "Hey, are you all right? You need 8 minutes." And that has proven to be one of the most heartfelt, successful things that I'd be able to do. And that on Friday, like I said, when Braden, he just warmed my heart. He's just a beautiful young man that has developed into something that and he's changing people's lives. So we always look at what we can do for the masses. Let's just one step at a time, one baby step. So
that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself, so that the audience can get to know a little of the man that I know. And it will help them understand your perspective as we go into our next segment. We're going to be right back with more wisdom from Wiesner after these messages from our sponsors.
In Kamloops, we're not just lawyers, we're forward law. We're about moving you forward. Approachable, caring, and experienced. That's who we are. From contract writing to estate planning, civil litigation to employment law, whatever your need, we've got your back. We push for fair resolutions. We're not afraid to take on the tough cases. Forward-thinking estate planning, strong advocacy, and unwavering support. Forward Law, your partner in progress. Call us today, because your future deserves nothing less. Welcome to the heart of business in Kamloops, Southgate Business Center, your one-stop destination for all your office needs. Conveniently located at 970 Laval Crescent, Southgate Business Center offers more than just office space. Whether you're a startup, a freelancer, or a well-established business, we've got you covered. Need a professional office space? Our offices provide the ideal environment for productivity and success. Planning a meeting or presentation? Elevate your business with our conference room available for rent. At Southgate Business Center, we understand the importance of efficiency. Our secretarial services ensure you have the support you need so you can focus on what matters most, growing your business. For office rentals, conference rooms, secretarial services, and more, contact Southgate Business Center at 250-374-9233 or visit us at 970 Laval Crescent in Kamloops. Southgate Business Center, your destination for success in the heart of Kamloops. Call us today and experience a new level of business excellence.
Well, as one of my favorite actors like to say, all right, all right, all right. We're back with Shawn Wiesner. And Shawn, thank you so much. We're talking about crises in our community. We're talking about, right now, specifically, criminal justice, corrections. Now that people have gotten a chance to get to know you a little bit more, I think they'll appreciate some of the wisdom and the guidance that you might have for us as residents of this community, as residents of any community, when we look at these crises and we look for a way forward. In finding a way forward, which is the name of our overall project. What are the crises that you see really in community? I mean, we talk about corrections.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really correcting?
No.
Tell me about that.
It's a place where we will incarcerate and steal freedom from a human being. So it's not. There's nothing inspiring about it. There's no wisdom inside of there. It's all survival, and it's sometimes survival of the fittest. And whether you're a corrections officer or whether you got on the wrong side of the bars, it is an environment of survival, and there isn't anything put in place. They make the attempt. There's educational systems, yet if they worked, you wouldn't have the reoffense. You wouldn't have the continuous flow. You wouldn't have you wouldn't have the disrespect. Like, we've really got to a level of disrespect within. I'm great friends with a whole bunch of them. I went to they called it an old guard reunion, and I went there and I still knew everybody. It was a hoot. It was just a hoot. And most of them are retired, and some of them that are still there said, "Oh, Shawn, it was good you got out, because it's so different and it's worse. And no, we don't run it anymore. They run it."
They being?
The offenders. They're in charge. Not the individuals that are there now would be, and I'm just using their words, glorified babysitters. They've become guards. They're guarding the stake. That is a maximum security prison up there. A lot of people drive by because they think it's got the blue roof and it looks pretty, that it's just a nice little hotel that, somebody that stole candy is in there. No, that's actually a super max facility based on some of the offenders that are inside of there. And it's always got a rotating door. So there's something not right. And we've been doing this for decades. When is somebody going to ask the question, what are we doing wrong and what could we do better?
Shawn, I'm asking the question right now.
And for me, it's about, once you're there, like I said before, it's pretty hard to get out of that lifestyle because there is power to it. There's some, there's some status that goes with some of those people that are in there. They're all, deep down inside, they're all great human beings. There isn't a single one in there that isn't somebody that is a good person. Deep down inside, they're all individuals that are looking for respect or looking for somebody to listen to them. And we don't do that anymore. We've gotten away from, again, sitting at the desk, and I'm sitting there monitoring every hour. I'll go do a count, I'll phone in the count. I'm a robot in it versus being invested in correcting it. And when you're in an environment like that, the opportunities are not there to sit. The other problem is too, in that environment, if I'm the offender and I'm going to talk to the corrections officer, I'm deemed from the other 20 guys that are in that unit as being either a narc, a rat, a wimp. The perception and the status that goes with talking with or laughing with or communicating with an officer is, look what's happening, look at the police force. My wife has said so many times, Shawn, I'm so glad you didn't get into the police force. My heart goes out to those people. Everybody has a job to do in the world to get us where we are. There's you need everybody from the guy that sweeps the floors, which is, he's a leader too, to the top dog. The problem with it is that there's too much, there's not enough guidance, and there's judgment towards I wanting to do better. Mm-hmm. And that, just like, you think about, I know more coaches, like life coaches or success coaches, that struggle with trying to figure things out because people don't, it's not something that they reach out to. Oh my gosh, it's a pathway to getting to where you want to go. It opens up so many possibilities. So in corrections, that's not there. They don't have an out for them. They don't have an opportunity for them to get there. And again, you become who you have coffee with. I say, what I'd love to see is we need to get into the schools. And grade 1.
So what would that look like? I mean,
I don't know, but I know that it's important. When I hear about kids, because we've got some people at work that have kids in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. When I listen to a lady talk about what was actually a grandmother, talking about how her granddaughter, Lily, is getting bullied in kindergarten, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what? Like, that's hurtful. Because they're at that stage of life, they're defenseless, yet they're learning something. And as they're learning something, it's about, I need to figure out how to protect myself. I need to figure out either that or get away from it. Or I need to be the guy that goes and punches Johnny in the face. So where we're going with it, man, we've got an opportunity. There's for me, it's about giving the Alex, the Bradens, the Jacksons, the list goes on and on and on. Because if we make a difference to one, we'll make a difference to many. So if I can instill confidence and I can get purposeful thinking in the younger generation of individuals and see what respect means and see what showing up on time means and seeing what a budget means and giving some of these kids, how don't you have life skills? How? And we don't teach that in the jail. There's no life skill training. They might have something now that they've done, but as soon as budgets come out, what's the first thing that gets cut? Training. Mm-hmm. And if I went to the warden and I said, hey, look, I want to take some high-end coaching for the ability to be able to make a difference here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. What are you gonna do? how are you going to make a difference doing that?
So your suggestion basically is the only way that we're going to change the correction system is, and reduce recidivism and everything else, is get them before they ever go to the jail.
Yes.
So that eventually there's nobody going there.
You hit the door, it's too late. Peter Huska, Shawn, if you end up in jail, you break my heart. That got me. That was, so it was an emotional attachment to a trigger that said, I won't break your heart. I was open enough to the concept of attaching to emotion of goodness, and it stuck with me forever. Because I'll be honest, some of the guys I did hang out with, you know, in grade 8 and grade 9, they did end up in jail. 2 of them died. You know, if I would have hung out with that group of people drinking that coffee, I could have been wearing the striped uniform, not the blue one. You know, so I truly believe it's not just about teaching, it's about finding anchors of emotion that create an anchor that's strong enough to go back to your morals and your values of what it is to be a good human being. Because if you attach to that, when something you practice, you become really good at. I get in trouble from Lisa because if somebody's in the line at the grocery store and ripping on the cashier, I'll go up and put my hand on the shoulder, not aggressively, and I'll say, hey, like, she does not deserve that. Like, where are you going with this? 99% of the time, they'll turn around and say, again, I'm lucky because I'm a bigger guy, but they'll turn around and say, I'm just having a day. I go, hey, we all are, man. And I go, I'll sit there and, you want to talk? You got 8 minutes? We're all having a day, but that doesn't give us the right to do that to that individual. So I think, again, I'll go back to the awareness precedes choice, which precedes results. I'm aware of it. Again. Awareness precedes choice, which precedes results. So if I know better, I'll do better. And if I do better, I'll get better. In my awarenesses of continuously having that kind thought, I'm not there to start a fight. That's my zero intention. I'm not going to scrap in a grocery store. I just want to protect the individual that's being attacked. And if we keep doing that and people see that, you know, if I stood back and never said anything and got in the car and say, Lisa, can you believe that guy? I can't believe that guy. The ignorance behind that, how could somebody be so rude? What am I contributing to? I'm contributing to the problem because all I'm doing is complaining about it, but I didn't do anything about it. And too often we turn. You know, when I was doing some training and in the jail, they'd say, if you get in a situation, and because this was just training that we would get up-leveled for, and it was more the psychology side of things, and they would say, if you ever get into trouble in the streets, so if you're walking alone when you're traveling or whatever, always carry a money clip in your dominant hand pocket and keep your wallet in your other pocket. Somebody comes towards you, says, give me your money, never yell help, because nobody will come. Yell fire, because everybody will come running. Now, isn't that an odd statement? And you take the money clip, you pull the money clip out, you throw it as far as you can, and you run like hell in the opposite direction, and make sure you put your shoulder, so this is training, put the shoulder in front of here, so if they actually pull a gun and start shooting you, your shoulder you won't get shot in the heart. That's a survival tip. So for anything, if you're traveling, and most people at close, like with a handgun, accuracy is not all that great. It's almost terrible. So just run and hope for the best. But what I'm saying is, when people call for help, for some reason it's I'm not getting involved. There's so many people crying for help. Where are we in terms of offering that help?
You know what just came to mind? I know that this is different, but it's not. Our last episode, we were talking to, just this last week, to Howie Reimer from the Downtown Business Improvement Association. And he was talking about, women coming down the street downtown and literally walking off the sidewalk, walking into the street, walking around the other side of parked cars just to avoid walking past someone who is clearly having mental health problems and living on the street. So that's what we've come to, right? It's not even someone that's yelling for help. It's someone that clearly needs help, but has lost all hope. And we can't even walk past them anymore. We have to literally walk to the other side of the street to go around them.
That hurts my heart. And that you know, and I think from where we are in terms of how it is, I think if we got more teaching about empathy than sympathy and created a different energy, I believe that is one of the I'm certain, just in saying it because my heart just started to go, I'm certain that is a key point.
Someone once told me, it may have even been my father, the difference between empathy and sympathy from his perspective. He said, sympathy, we can feel sorry for someone even though we have not ourselves experienced what they are going through. Empathy is when we, within our own experiences, have something that is aligned with what they are going through, and we feel the pain with them in our memory.
I love that. And I'll just add to that, to me, sympathy, we jump in the hole with them and now we're both screwed. Empathy, I have the ability to put my hand out, say, here, I'm here to help. I can offer you some things. Now, keep in mind, you can be very empathetic to pull them out of that hole. What I was going to say too, when you attach to the energy of sympathy, oh, you poor bugger, like you poor guy, oh my God, you poor guy, you're feeding it. Versus you are a beautiful human being that is struggling in today's day and age. And I can't imagine what you're feeling, because I can't feel what you're feeling. But I send you nothing but good wishes and warmth, and I bless the crap out of you, whether it's through God, whether it's through spirit, whatever it is. But I'm so hopeful for you that you have an opportunity to come out of that. So what I've done is I've changed the energy of that conversation. Perfect example. How when we greet and meet people, we say, how are you? How are you is for the doctor's office. Because I'm either going to tell you the truth and I'm going to bore the living crap out of you about all my victim problems, or so I'll bore you, or I'll lie to you, which now I'm good.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. How many times? Yeah, you know what? It's okay.
That reminds me of how you always greet me, with the exception of today.
I was excited, so I was a little bit maybe off cue.
Today was maybe the first time ever that you didn't greet me with, hey Pete, what's new and good? Yeah.
Thanks for recognizing that. That's important. I was excited to see the new facility and what was going on. I picked up on the energy that it was good, and you were excited and you were smiling. I appreciated that. I felt it in my heart. Yet, you're right though, the opportunity to be able to say, so doctor's office, how are you? Mm-hmm. She needs to know. That's one, she or he needs to know. That's one person you don't lie to. Okay, that's important. What's new and good offers a totally different thing. So you go back into that empathetic approach. It's changing one thing. And you know, I was going to write a book, and I still may, just because it just popped into my head, is I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell another Danielle story. We're golfing down in the States. This kid can drive, like, I'm blown away at what she can hit, how she hits a ball. Anyway, she hits this ball straight line down 250 yards. Let's call it 220 without exaggerating. Like, she can smash the ball. She's got men's club, steel shaft. Like, it's cool. I hit my first one in the water. Second one in the water. Third one. Fourth. And I'm adjusting by like, I'm like, okay, I got to move my foot like 4 inches. She finally says, Dad, 1 millimeter, change by 1 millimeter, and it'll make a difference. And that stuck with me because there's certain things we can do in today's society where it might come back to an empathetic approach about how we send somebody an energy. Because we're either gonna say, oh, poor bugger, or we're gonna go, oh yeah, no kidding, look at them. We're gonna either awe them or we're gonna judge them. Those are normally the two pieces. Versus, like, I don't expect everybody to walk up and you just become that lovable, huggable everybody. Because one thing I've learned too, there's people that will really take it and embrace it, and there's other people that don't. That doesn't mean you don't do it, but you have an understanding of who's willing to take some of the coaching and the loving, and some people just don't want it. Let's be realistic. Some people just say, no, that's not for me, and that's okay. It's up to us though, as the individual. Don't judge that. Embrace that. You know what? I respect you for telling the truth. Versus, yeah, well, okay then. Off you go. And corrections is off you go. The whole system is, okay, here's your meal. Now move on. Get out of the way. Go. Like, is it authentic? Is it truly? I've witnessed some amazing authenticity and heartfelt love. And there's nothing more powerful in a room than that. Nothing more powerful. Where did it go? And here's another cool thing. To make a difference, so we talked about empathy. To make a difference, go look for all the good things today. Go find all the happy people today. Go find the people that are making a difference and just appreciate and be incredibly grateful for them. Because if you do the opposite and you go look for all the let's just, you say it, the dinks, and the people that are misbehaving and doing inappropriate, and I do call it a behavior, because they're behaving in a manner that is not appropriate. They're still a good human being. Their behavior is just not so great. So go look for the good. Go appreciate the people that you're seeing smiling, and go and appreciate them. Hey, we're so caught up in what other people are going to say to us. I think as we get wiser, as I get wiser, and it's not about being cocky or arrogant, because if you masquerade confidence with arrogance, that's not the right way to be either. But do you ever find yourself, as a teenager, we would never go up to the best looking girl and go, oh my, you are beautiful, would you like to go on a date? Because we have this internal belief. I had this internal belief, I'm not even going to ask, because there's no bloody way. Whereas now, and it's not for anything, it's about creating a connection. You are absolutely beautiful. You have an incredible smile. Your eyes are glowing. I'm looking into your eyes right now, Peter, and you are a beautiful man.
Thank you, Shawn.
How does that
you are too.
How does that make you feel, like in comparison to? And I'm doing it authentically. Okay, good. And those things make a difference. Again, change by 1 millimeter. Change your thoughts.
Let me ask you this though,
Okay.
and I don't want to veer us off too far in the wrong direction, but
Okay.
there could be some people that are feeling this way. I know from time to time that I do. There is so much hopelessness, not just in the world, but even in our own community. Sometimes it just feels like we are still going backwards. As advanced, as modern, as forward-thinking, as much learned information that's out there, we seem to be going backwards. And in this approach of just making a change, of just a small change, just focusing on the positive people, and just removing that negativity from your life that maybe you're currently wrapped up in. Are we not once again returning to a segregated society? Over on this side, we have our bleeding hearts, our positive thinkers, our woo-woo people. And over on this side is all of the people that are in chaos and crisis and just shut off and apathetic and angry, right? Is there any hope for our community to come back into a place where the majority of people are loving and caring and supportive, and it's just the most beautiful community in the world to be in?
Yes.
How?
You know, you said a powerful word, and I love the word, and it's called hope. To be, you know, and I'm going to throw a dig out there for, you know, if anybody wants to look up Simon Sinek and look up, he did something on optimism. And you said it because it just rekindled a thought as I listened to his little video. And yes, there's so many things that are going on there. Yes, there's the world is in turmoil. We have wars. We've got homelessness. We've got all sorts of things going on in our community. There is this group of people, and there is this group of people. Yet if I want to become the negative water cooler talk, I go over there and become one of the water cooler talks. Have you ever been in a room where somebody loves the Vancouver Canucks? Everybody loves the Vancouver Canucks, by the way, now. But have you ever been in a room where somebody there's two guys having a conversation, oh, I love the Vancouver Canucks. And, oh, me too, and I love it. And he's agreeing, and he's just because he's agreeing with this guy. And then all of a sudden you'll see him on the other end of the room talking to somebody else about how they don't like the Vancouver Canucks. And he's agreeing about that too. Mm. So one of my core values is courageousness. Courageousness to be there for people. Courageousness to have optimism towards what's going to be really good. I have courageousness to speak to power. You know, sometimes you have to disagree to agree and get to a safe place. That's one of my core values, is to be courageous. Courageous that there are opportunities, that I have some optimism for what it is, and it's about being part of that, and also changing the perception of what this group is over here, because you don't go in there like a storm and like. I'm doing some really cool training now. I've been studying for many years. And it's called A Course in Miracles, and it's all about spiritual psychotherapy. It's about removing the ego, and it's powerful. I'm loving it, and I'm proud to say by the end of March, I will be Reverend Shawn. I think I told you about that. So I will be an ordained minister in the work of it, and you know, and it's such a beautiful. You know, I was born and raised a Catholic, so. Have very strong values towards being good, having faith, being optimistic, being loving, being caring. You're always going to have this group. You're always going to have it. You get stuck in it, it's like going into the jail. Now you're on that side of the table. I got one of the best compliments I ever got one time when somebody was just watching me in a conference. And they said to this other individual, they said, is he always like that inspiring and motivated and just like so, and he's like, uh-huh. And they're like, holy crap, like, does that exist? And he's like, uh-huh. And that was a beautiful compliment, because I wasn't there to impress. I wasn't there to do anything else. I was being me. Mm. And we all have the opportunity to be. We all have the opportunity to rekindle that inner spirit, that inner guidance, that inner wisdom. It's there. You know, it's like it's this golden nugget that they had this conversation. Where should we put this incredible piece of wisdom? Let's put it on the top of the highest mountain. And like, no, you've heard this story, I know. Yeah. No, they'll find it. No. Well, let's bury it in the deepest of oceans. No, somebody will find it. And the reference to it was all of a sudden, you know, God said, let's bury it in the heart of every individual, of every human being. And it will be up to them to find that. It'll be up to them to do the aha moment. It'll be for them to discover. It'll be for them to awaken. And with this Course in Miracles that I'm taking, it's about helping people find that inner wisdom, finding that inner guidance. It's non-denominational. The teachings come from whatever you choose, which I absolutely love. Yet it's in you, and it's in this group of people as much as it is in this group of people. It's just not discovered yet. And it's not up to this group of people to look over to those group of people and go, don't those guys get it? Because now I become what that is. I've created a judgment.
5 or 6 times just in our conversation today, I feel really called to say something here, because I mean it relates to another crisis that we have in community, and that is that whether you recognize it or not, your perspective on things is the best of what I see in Indigenous First Nations people. You don't judge people and you don't tell people how they should be.
Correct.
You just look at yourself inwardly.
It's a beautiful human being.
It's more about we and less about me. It's not about me telling you how to be. It's about me focusing on pursuing how I should be guided. Another spiritual observation.
Yes, inclusivity is heartful thought. It's heartful thought. And to neglect that is hurtful. And whatever you decide to do more of, that's what you'll get stronger at. It's no different than working out in the gym. It's not, how does that saying go? Repetition is the motor of learning. Repetition is the motor of learning. Repetition is the motor of learning. I become stronger at what I focus on, what I put my thoughts to. And the other thing is creating individual strength, individual courage. To be courageous is about what can I do better? It's self-awareness. It's self-awareness and finding people that will give you the truth. So, I know I could come to you because I feel safe in every conversation we've ever had and said, Peter, I need some awareness guidance. Can you tell me, if I use a scale between 1 and 10, where am I on the scale between 1 and 10? Anything less than a 10, what would make it a 10? I'm going into some Jack Canfield stuff because I love it. So it's having the ability to accept feedback, to give it, to take it. We're not good at it. And when we get feedback, we're hurt because we think we should have got a participation ribbon. Bullshit. That's entitlement versus empowerment. And I'm taking responsibility. I'm taking it. I personally take the responsibility for part of creating the entitlement thinking piece. Because I gave out participation ribbons because I didn't want anybody to feel left out. What did I do? I didn't empower anybody because now everybody thinks they should get one. And I've transitioned, not to take away from that thought process, but you do way more good by empowering than you do enabling. Way more good.
It's funny, this week I've had so many conversations about in communicating with other people in our community, online, through social media, but even in person. There seems to be this feeling, this trend, this if I can find another word for it, but in order for me to win, you have to lose. If I come with an open mind and allow you to change it, it's a sign of weakness. Yet when we look back at, some of the people I know, when I look back at some of the people that I respect the most, they have incredible open minds. They see the ability to grow beyond who they are at that present time as a sign of strength.
Ego. It's all ego. It's we all, I'm not saying I don't, we all have it. It's recognizing it. I need to win. I need to win. You know, that's I'm here to win. As long as you're contributing. You know, I said at the Warriors of Excellence gathering when we handed out the trophy, every one of you here contributed to this young man's award. Every single one of you. We couldn't, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work any other way. It's like being, I'll go back to a hockey analogy. We don't all get MVP. Yet we all contributed to making sure the one individual that scored the 3 goals was supported enough to get it, and we cheerlead him because he got it. So with the Warriors of Excellence, I still pay tribute to each individual that contributed. It's not a participation ribbon because only one guy can win the trophy. And I have a first, a second, and a third, because that's what we teach. That's where we go back to empowerment, not entitlement. Sorry guys, 1, 2, 3. First guy gets this, second guy gets that, third guy gets that. I know everybody contributed though, so I don't want you to feel, and you strike the right empowerment chord when they're all high-fiving and cheering like crazy versus, how come I didn't get it? So it's my responsibility as a leader, as a guide, as a protector, as a fellow traveler, as a student, as a teacher. It's my responsibility to make sure that everybody feels part of something big, yet somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And if you can cheerlead it, it's like driving by and seeing a guy in his beautiful car. Rather than, so here's what I'm talking about, sending energies. Rather than going, guy must be loaded, or what a beautiful car, I wonder what he got. Versus, that is a gorgeous car. I'm so grateful that that guy has the opportunity to be in something that he absolutely enjoys. And you can see it on his face, he's smiling, like he loves that car. Now, it's not about loving something materialistic. He's got love for it. He worked hard for it. So I'm changing the energy of that conversation. You know, and people think because I love something that's materialistic, I'm materialistic. So if I'm to go and just hug my car, I love my car, I love my car, people are going to look at me and go, you're a weirdo, right? But if I have my daughter up there and I'm going, I love my daughter, I love my daughter, everybody's, oh, isn't that nice? There's still that perspective of that understanding that it's the same language. And we cut ourselves off from some of the opportunities in life by thinking it's not right to have some of those good things. So, you know, inclusivity with you know, and it all starts out with that. It all starts out with our community as a whole. Every single individual here belongs here. Every single individual that lives here needs to be respected and needs to be loved, and that's the key. Love is the answer. Period. Now,
Love's the answer to poverty?
Love is the answer where you love yourself enough that you're able to look towards means of finding a way that individual that doesn't have anything finds something that they love about themselves as well. And you can, again, now instead of me jumping in the hole with them, I'm going to put my arm out and say, I got my hand out here for you because I love you. You want my hand? I'm here to help you. So it's not the love of something that, how can I put it into perspective? You know, I'll get really vulnerable. Just before my mom passed last year, we sat down and we had a conversation. And you want to talk about, so part of my Jack Canfield things, and I'll never forget this. So you had to write a list of the people that you spend most of your time with. And you had to write a positive and a negative beside each one of those people. And if they were negative, you had to remove them. Like he says, it's non-negotiable. What if it's my mom? He says, birthdays, holidays, and Christmas, and that's it. or special occasions, birthdays, and that's it. I'm like, that's it? He goes, yes. He goes, so anyways, before Mom passed, we were sitting around the thing, and she goes, you know, I always had a hard time with you because you're just always this positive guy. And Mom was not all that positive for a good portion of her life. Beautiful woman, some parts not all that positive. And she says to me, you know what? I want you to know something. I didn't really like you, but I love you. I'll never forget that. It was the last time I had a conversation with my mother. Didn't really like you, but I love you. And it made a lot of sense. You know, and we can't be everything for everybody. I loved my mom too. Certain things that I didn't like didn't stop me from loving her. You know, and in society, with what's going on today, you know, I had a really cool conversation with one of the young guys at work, and this is where I think it can be wrong. Is he just started, 19 years old, 2 days in, he gets a cold. He's not feeling good. He phones me, and he says, Shawn, I'm not feeling good, but I feel terrible for what I'm about to do. I can't come. I don't feel good. I said, I trust you. That's what our team. We trust one another. You don't have to justify it. I trust you. You mean you're not going to fire me? I go, what? He goes, well, yeah. Like, I've only been working for 2 days and I'm booking off sick. I thought I'd be fired. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. Like, where did these young people come up with that concept? So again, us going back
Well, that's
into
the way that the world is working right now.
Yes, so it's up to me. So I know the world's working that way. It's up to me. And it's not about me getting disgusted and pounding my fist and going, why the hell isn't everybody else doing this? It's up to me. If I can make a difference to that one, I just made a difference to that one. The starfish.
It's the third time I've thought of starfish in our conversation today. Yes. Share the starfish story.
No, I'd like you to share it because you say it brilliantly too. And because you connected to it, please share it. I love to hear it.
Well, I don't know if I'll do it as much justice as you do, but as my memory recollects, a man is walking along the beach, and the beach is absolutely covered in millions and millions and millions of starfish, and the tide is going out, and the sun is baking the starfish into the sand, and the starfish, millions, perhaps billions of them, are all dying. And as the man is walking along, trying to avoid stepping on any of them, he sees way off in the distance another person who is reaching down and then thrusting out into the ocean. And as he gets closer, he sees that this person is purposefully picking up starfish one at a time and throwing them out into the outgoing tide. And the man is just shaking his head as he walks closer and closer to this individual, and is just surrounded by millions and millions and millions of dying starfish. And he can't understand why this person is putting so much effort into throwing out one starfish at a time into the outgoing surf. He gets up to the person and he says, you can't possibly think that you are going to make any difference here. And the person looks at him, reaches down, picks up another starfish, throws it out into the surf, and he says, well, I made a difference for that one.
Exactly. That's all we got to do. That's all we got to do. And having that optimistic thought process to one at a time. There's another one. There's a 95-year-old man in the backyard, and he's planting a cherry tree. And the young guy next door goes, hey, old man. He goes, you're never going to see any fruit from that tree. And he goes, I won't, but you will. Plant your trees, throw your starfish, make a difference.
This is the Crisis Storm, and we've been speaking to Shawn Wiesner about the crisis storm in our community and what our response to it could be. We'll be right back with more conversation with Shawn right after these messages.
In Kamloops, we're not just lawyers, we're forward law. We're about moving you forward. Approachable, caring, and experienced. That's who we are. From contract writing to estate planning, civil litigation to employment law, whatever your need, we've got your back. We push for fair resolutions. We're not afraid to take on the tough cases. Forward-thinking estate planning, strong advocacy, and unwavering support. Forward Law, your partner in progress. Call us today, because your future deserves nothing less. Welcome to the heart of business in Kamloops, Southgate Business Center, your one-stop destination for all your office needs. Conveniently located at 970 Laval Crescent, Southgate Business Center offers more than just office space. Whether you're a startup, a freelancer, or a well-established business, we've got you covered. Need a professional office space? Our offices provide the ideal environment for productivity and success. Planning a meeting or presentation? Elevate your business with our conference room available for rent. At Southgate Business Center, we understand the importance of efficiency. Our secretarial services ensure you have the support you need so you can focus on what matters most, growing your business. For office rentals, conference rooms, secretarial services, and more, contact Southgate Business Center at 250-374-9233 or visit us at 970 Laval Crescent in Kamloops. Southgate Business Center, your destination for success in the heart of Kamloops. Call us today and experience a new level of business excellence.
Another thing I love about an Indigenous lens, about two-eyed seeing, is how Indigenous people are so tuned into thinking from the perspective of 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And we can't even get out of our heads half the time about thinking just about ourselves.
Yes.
Right? But it's that generational back and forward approach that gives us the wisdom to live our lives.
And that's wise thinking. That's sustainability. That's what'll happen. You know, we went from one place to another place, and we'll get back to the place we want to be when we start focusing on the things we're just talking about. Throwing the starfish back, planting the trees, recognizing the importance of the next generations. You know, being aware of what we do on a daily basis. You know, I always hear it, well, just throw it out. Where? Where's a way? What do you mean throw it away? No, fix it. I've got one guy that love him dearly because I'm like, Craig, if we can fix it, let's fix it. I don't want to see it in the dumpster because my granddaughter's daughter's granddaughter might not have any place to throw anything if we keep throwing all this stuff in the garbage. Fix it, figure it out. There's something, and he comes back, hey Shawn, it's running. I'm like, that is fantastic. Because now we didn't throw it away. I was talking to another guy the other day. He said his friend works up at one of the garbage disposable places, and all he does is drive a loader all day and crushes stuff. And he goes, I would never get my job done if I got out and grabbed stuff that I know was perfectly fine, that I'm driving over and crushing and burying in the landfills. You know, so yes, I will attach to the pride and acceptance of Indigenous people towards what it is, what they're doing with the land. There's another young fellow that I work with in Lee, and he talked about he's part of another band that's out in Black Pines, and how he talked about land and not owning it but creating sustainability for the next generations. I was inspired. I went, man, you need to get up on stage and share what what you're just sharing with me. Oh, I'd clam up if I got up there. I'm like, Lee, you got a gift. You're an incredibly, you have old spirit that is beautiful. You're talking about how they want to create, communities where the communities support one another, where they own the house, but they don't own the land, but they take care of the land, and they appreciate the land, and they bless the land, and they give to the land, and they cultivate it, and they preserve it, and they do what they need to do. We're bowling it over and putting concrete in it and saying, well, we need people to live. We need some sustainability too. And yes, from Shawn's side of things, but the positive, yeah, we do need houses. Yeah, are we losing sight of what prosperity comes from planting the seed?
It just reminds me of actually another episode of The Crisis Storm when we were talking to Bernadette Saraki, the executive director, the president and CEO of the food bank.
Correct.
And it's absolutely remarkable what she has done there for the last 16 years in the development of the food recovery program.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much food goes, perfectly good food, goes into landfill. Completely, perfectly edible, good food that was going into landfill because of really silly things. They get 6 pallet loads of peppers into, the warehouse of a grocery store, but the barcodes won't scan. So they have to throw them all out. Mm-hmm. They get 1 egg on a 32 egg carton rack. 1 egg on that, whatever pallet of or sheet of eggs is broken. And so they've got to throw the entire other 35 eggs out.
In case they got some egg on them. Yeah.
Because it's not perfect condition, right? And so where was all of that going? It was going into the landfill. It was going to the dump, But because of the way that the food bank is set up, because it's a charitable organization, because they have the insurance in place, they're able to take the liability and go to these stores, recover all of this food with their trucks, and it's all donated to them. And now they can break it up into smaller amounts or whatever and give it to people who would otherwise be going hungry, right?
So, you talk about making a difference. There's one.
Yeah.
Bernadette is making a difference.
Absolutely.
She's one of the most, you just feel that loving, giving energy. She's never faltered. I remember meeting her back, oh my goodness, that would have been, when I was running the home medical equipment business, we were putting a commercial lift in the old building. Mm-hmm. So that was a long time ago. Yeah. And I'm just like, when you just look at something and go, wow, you really should have wings. Mm-hmm. And she hasn't faltered from that. The authenticity so there's those different people. There's now gather a group of people that are all in, and we always think we have to have a mastermind meeting with the likes of everybody that's, what's BNI, the business networking.
International, BNI, yeah.
So you have to you're a business person to be involved with that. Masterminds, you sometimes everybody thinks, well, we all need to be bank managers to help each other out. No. You get a mastermind group with a bunch of givers, holy moly, you're going to come up with incredible ideas. Mm-hmm. The society, I call it Brainstorm for Brilliance. And by the way, that's mine. I came up with that. I really did. And Brainstorm for Brilliance works like this. So, well, let's play. So we're going to we're gonna host a party for Bernadette. What should we bring?
We should bring some people that have gone on from the food bank as employees that have gone on with Bernadette's support and guidance, have gone on to successful careers and doing great things in community.
That's a great idea. What else?
We should bring we should bring some food, but we should make sure that if we're going to throw a party for Bernadette, that that the food that we bring does not show any signs of us wasting anything.
But why would we bring food when she's got a whole warehouse?
If we're bringing it to the food bank?
Yeah, that's silly.
Well, I was thinking bringing food for the food bank.
Isn't it silly?
Isn't it a prerequisite that when you meet with Bernadette, you give her some food for the food bank?
Okay, exercise, defensiveness. Okay. I love it. Perfect. Brainstorm for brilliance. Let's try it again. So now we're going to plan a birthday party for my wife, Lisa. What are we bringing her? What are we bringing?
I don't know Lisa as well as I know.
We're just making a party. You don't have to worry about it. It's a party. It's party generic. Hats. What do you bring? Party hats. I love it. What else?
Not that many candles.
Okay, doesn't matter. Yeah, because you want to be. That's fine. Candles, brilliant. What else?
Okay. A cake.
Oh, I love cake. Cake's my favorite. What kind of cake?
What kind does she like? Strawberries.
Strawberries is one of her favorite. You're intuitively picking up on it. What else?
Paper napkins.
Yep, beautiful.
And paper plates so that she doesn't have to do the dishes.
Can you just, in your picture, can you see this party just being absolutely amazing? Because we're all going to be there, and it's just going to be something that's isn't going to be incredible?
Good music, yeah.
Yeah. Brainstorm for brilliance. If I cut you off when you give me an idea after you told me food, and I look at you like, really? How open and creative are you going to be after I cut you off at the knees? Versus go, 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 go. Some of your answers, so here's another opportunity to create empowerment, is the first three answers that Johnny pops out of his mouth, you could be sitting there and going, holy cow, versus, that's great, Johnny. Oh, what else, Johnny? What else? Give me something else. Give me something else. And then you're going around the room. All of a sudden, Johnny comes up with, because you haven't put him down, you haven't made fun of him, you've empowered the crap out of him, you're digging deep down, there's some mud on top, we all have it. You know, it's scraping the mud off of the Buddha. All of a sudden, Johnny comes up with the most brilliant thing that you could possibly think of and go, why didn't we think of that? And he came up with it because we didn't stifle their creativity. We cheerleaded every moment, but we get so caught up in our busy worlds and in our busy world that, okay, I don't have time for this crap. Like, somebody else got an idea? Is that person going to be somebody that's going to, now they're never going to speak up in a meeting, or they're never going to speak up at the dinner table. They're never going to have the opportunity to be that kindled, loving spirit because they think that it's inappropriate for them to speak. And who did that to them? So I love the concept of, because you got to admit, you got defensive in the, well,
a little bit, yeah. I'm like going, where are you going with this, Wiesner? I honestly, you know what flashed in my head? What flashed in my head is the exercise that we went through that you referred to a couple of times. You know, the finding your life's purpose exercise. Yeah. And what flashed in my head is, Wiesner's giving me another empty box here. I'm getting ripped off.
I love you.
People don't understand that necessarily in the context of our conversation, but I did get a little defensive. Mm-hmm. I could feel it in myself.
You know I love you.
I do. And you know the feeling is definitely mutual.
I do. I really do. Or I wouldn't be here today.
So you think that, just going full circle, you think that this is something that we should and could be teaching right in elementary school, right in kindergarten and grade 1 and grade 2? Is this something that is missing? And
yes.
What is going to reduce incarceration and corrections and crime and all of these crises in community is getting that learning to young children today?
Young children, young adults. Like, when we talk inclusivity, it's everybody. You know, dear friend of mine, Nellie Dever. Her butterfly that you see every time you drive by there.
Yeah.
That's hope. That represents freedom, floating, beauty, appreciation, gratitude, hope. It's love. It's she developed that and drew that, not for herself, but for other people to get a good feeling as they drove by. Hope. And you know, it's about starting to look at the individuals and how we can start spreading what we need to spread. And it, like I said, it doesn't take great big meetings. It doesn't take, well, we've got to have a big organization. We've got to create this big symposium or conference. Or no, you get the word out with what you're doing right now. This is beautiful. That become that starfish. Plant the tree that's going to give the fruit to the next generations. It's changed by 1 millimeter. It's doing those small, insignificant things. Robin Sharma, the smallest of actions is better than the noblest of intentions. I can change the world, or I can change me. John G. Miller says the same thing in there, that, you know, part of his thing is, you know, there's only one person that can change, and the only one person that can change is me.
Peaceful Warrior.
Peaceful Warrior is a beautiful one too.
Isn't that?
So
who wrote that?
That's Millman.
Millman. That's it. I was
Peaceful
mixing
Warrior.
Miller with Millman.
Peaceful Warrior is a beautiful movie and a beautiful book. We've talked about the Peaceful Warrior before, and how much that in the moment peacefulness, you know, take out the trash, Dan. The trash is anything that keeps you from being present, that keeps you from moving forward. And when you do take out that trash, you'll be amazed at how things happen. That's almost, you Google it, but I'm probably pretty close because it just gives me chills. I love it.
So before we wrap up,
Yeah.
Thoughts for our audience. You know, when we're talking about crises in community, anybody that's tuning into this is more than likely very concerned about what's going on. If not in this community directly, then in the community that they're tuning in from. Whether it's crime, whether it's, you know, a loved one that is caught up in substance use disorder and they're scared they're going to overdose. Or perhaps they've lost someone to overdose. Whether it's homelessness, hopelessness, mental health disorder, just a terrible inability to be able to communicate anymore with the people that they care about because relationships have become so polarized. There's so much noise out there. What do you want to say to our audience with respect to all of these crises that we call a crisis storm?
You need clouds and rain to make a rainbow. Or you need rain and sunshine to make a rainbow. We always are in awe of the rainbow. And it's a mindset to turn towards a growth mindset versus the fixed mindset of what we continuously do. And the crisis is literally a mindset. And you know, holding that different energy and understanding what it is that creates that rainbow is an important piece for us to hold. And it just starts again with one. I keep going back to that. If it's going to be, it's up to me, you know. And the perspective of being a caring, empathetic, heart on your sleeve, beautiful individual will send waves of energy to the masses. You know, there's so many different groups that you can get involved in where they'll have a prayer group or a meditation where half the world is walking for peace. You know, what happened to peace on earth? We used to talk about that all the time. We don't talk about that anymore. Let's bring peace on earth back. It again starts with us. So in terms of what I would say is reach out, do this sort of thing, create an inspiration conversation, start on the grounds of what's new and good, you know, and be there for the friend that asks for the 8 minutes. It's a small amount of time to be able to give somebody that gift, and because if I can inspire you to go and do something different in this whole crisis, to now walk by somebody and actually bless them with hope versus with pity and awe, that's where I think there's going to be a change. You know, somebody will say, and you'll hear him say, "Oh my God," and the presence of the crisis is, "Oh, it caught my attention, so there is a crisis." It's my personal responsibility to be a conduit of what we're talking about, to be, you know, phone me, reach out to me, you know. There's people out here and there's people out there that are wanting to be able to help you discover. And God, you know, so we say, oh my God, God is that personal journey that we all want to live and be on. And, you know, whether it's God, spirit, nature, again, it's that seed that's buried within us that we have the ability to be able to stir up and become loving and become caring. And you know what? Next time, try this. Guy drives by you, gives you the bird because you might have cut him off. Wave at him nicely, not ignorantly, and go, hey. Watch the reaction. My last little thing, Jack Canfield. E plus R equals O. There's an event, there's a response to the event, and there's your outcome. Change your response, you change your outcome every single time. Wave instead of giving the finger back changes the whole perspective, because that guy will shrink in his seat and go, oh no, I think I might know that guy. Is that my neighbor?
E
plus R
equals
equals O.
O.
Event plus response equals outcome.
Shawn, thank you.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Thank you for watching The Crisis Storm. You're watching or listening to The Crisis Storm. Crisis Storm is a longer format episodic video series and audio podcast series to inform and engage better conversations in our community around the collective crises we face in our community. All of us at the Crisis Storm podcast would like to thank our sponsors for their support and care for the community of Kamloops and its residents. First, the Southgate Business Center at 970 Laval Crescent in Kamloops provides rental offices, rental boardroom, and secretarial services. Second, the Crisis Storm podcast and our overall project, Finding a Way Forward, would also like to thank our sponsored Forward Law, where legal expertise meets genuine care. Forward Law is your partner in progress because your future deserves nothing less. If you found value in this episode of The Crisis Storm, please don't forget, give us a like, share it with others. Thank you for joining the conversation and being part of the solution to the many crises we face in community. Crisis Storm is a production of Mastermind Studios in association with the AIMCanada Mentorship Society. This series aims to inform and engage better conversations in our community around the collective crises stemming from homelessness, the economy, mental health, crime, healthcare, addictions, the environment, and a breakdown in good human communication. For more information on the Crisis Storm podcast series and the documentary film project titled Finding a Way Forward, please visit findingawayforward.com. Crisis Storm can be watched on YouTube, along with listening to the audio versions on many podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, and RSS. If you've got questions for the producers of this show or suggestions on topics and guests for future shows, please send them to info@mastermindstudios.ca.